I am Lisa.
And I'm Eric. Do you want to improve your English easily? If so, you're in the right place.
Okay, today we'll listen to a podcast about whether social media is a double-edged sword or not.
Let's listen to it.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. I'm Mark.
And I'm Emma. Thanks for joining us. We're diving into a big topic today, social media. Is it a double-edged sword or not?
Yeah, it's something we all use, right? But is it good or bad? That's the big question.
Exactly. In this episode, we'll talk about the positive and negative sides of social media and how to find balance. Let's start with the good stuff.
I think one of the best things about social media is how it connects people. You can stay in touch with friends and family, even if they live far away.
That's so true. I have a cousin who lives in another country and we chat all the time on Instagram. Without social media, we'd probably only talk a few times a year.
Same here. And it's not just for personal connections. Social media lets you meet new people who share your interests. There are groups for everything.
Oh yeah. I joined a group for people who love hiking. We've even planned trips together. It's like finding a new community.
Exactly. It's not just fun. It can also be super useful. You can learn new skills from videos or tutorials. Have you ever learned something from social media, Emma?
Oh, definitely. I learned how to bake bread. Thanks to YouTube and TikTok, it's like having free lessons at your fingertips.
And don't forget about news and information. Social media can keep you updated on what's happening around the world.
True, but you have to be careful about fake news and fabricated stories. I try to follow trustworthy accounts and fact-check anything that seems suspicious.
That's a great point. It's so easy to believe everything we see, but following accurate and informative sources can help avoid misinformation.
Exactly. I think the more we focus on positive and reliable content, the better experience we have online.
I also think social media gives people a voice. Anyone can share their opinions or start a project. It can help small businesses grow too.
Absolutely. I know so many small business owners who sell things online. Social media helps them reach customers they never could before.
It's amazing how powerful it can be. But of course, there's another side to this story. Sometimes social media can cause problems.
Definitely. One big issue is how much time we spend on it. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to lose track of time scrolling?
Oh yes, I once spent an hour just watching funny videos when I meant to check one thing. It's addictive.
It really is. And sometimes it can make people feel bad. You see perfect pictures of other people's lives, and it can make you feel like your life isn't good enough.
Yeah, that's called comparison, right? You start comparing yourself to others. It can really affect your confidence.
Exactly. And for younger people, it can be even harder. They might feel pressure to look or act a certain way.
That's true. Another problem is online bullying. Social media can sometimes be a place where people say hurtful things.
Unfortunately, yes. And because it's online, it can feel like there's no escape. People can see negative comments all the time.
It's so important to talk about that. I also think privacy is a big issue. Sometimes we share too much without thinking.
Right. And then our personal information can fall into the wrong hands. Have you ever had a weird message from someone you didn't know?
Oh, yeah. I had someone pretend to be a friend, but they just wanted my personal info. Luckily, I didn't share anything.
That's good. It's a reminder to be careful about who we talk to and what we share online.
Absolutely. Social media isn't going away, so finding balance is key. One thing that helps me is setting time limits.
That's a great idea. I set a reminder to take breaks after 30 minutes. It keeps me from spending too much time online.
Yeah, and sometimes I even take social media breaks for a day or two. It really helps me feel more relaxed.
Same here. I also try to follow more positive and educational accounts. It makes my feed more inspiring.
That's smart. And if something makes you feel bad, it's okay to unfollow or mute. You don't have to see everything.
Exactly. Remember, social media should make you feel go, not stressed.
Also, putting some limits on yourself helps. I avoid using my phone an hour before bed. It improves my sleep and reduces screen time.
That's a great point. I leave my phone in another room while I work to stay focused. Sometimes disconnecting for a bit helps you be more productive.
Yes, it's about controlling how we use social media instead of letting it control us. Little changes can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We hope you learned something useful.
See you all next time. Take care.
Bye for now.
It was a very informative podcast. Lisa, have you ever thought about how much time we spend on social media?
Oh, all the time. I sometimes catch myself scrolling for way longer than I planned. What about you?
Same here. I once opened an app to check a message and ended up watching videos for an hour. It's crazy how addictive it can be.
Definitely. I try to set time limits, but it's not always easy to stick to them.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, let's start our podcast. What are the words today, Eric?
Okay, Lisa, the first word today is comparison. Then we will continue with a double-edged sword and keep someone or something from something. Then fall into the wrong hands. And the final one is give somebody a voice.
Let's start with the first word.
The first word is comparison.
Comparison.
Comparison is a noun. It means looking at two or more things to see how they are similar or different. When you make a comparison, you find what is the same and what is different between things.
Yes. For example, if you look at two phones to see which one has a better camera, you are making a comparison.
That's right. Here's an easy example. I made a comparison between two cars. One is faster, but the other is cheaper. This shows that the person is looking at how the cars are different to make a decision.
Like when I say, in comparison to last year, this winter feels much colder.
That's a great example. You're looking at this winter and last winter and noticing the difference. Sometimes we use phrases like by comparison or in comparison with. They help introduce the second thing we're comparing. For example, in comparison with the French, the British eat less fish.
Got it. Is comparison formal or casual?
It's pretty neutral, so you can use it in everyday conversations or formal writing. Now, for a quick tip, after the word comparison, we often use the word between when talking about two things. For example, a comparison between two cities.
Cool. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next word.
The next phrase is double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. Ooh, double-edged sword. That sounds a little dangerous, Eric.
It does sound a bit dramatic, doesn't it? But don't worry, we're not talking about real swords today. This phrase is more about describing situations. Double-edged sword is an idiom. It means something that has both good and bad sides. Just like a sword with two sharp edges, it can help you, but it can also hurt you.
Oh, I see. So, it's something that can help or harm, depending on how you use it.
Exactly. Here's an example sentence. Working from home is a double-edged sword. You save time, but it can be lonely. This shows that working from home has both positive and negative parts.
Got it. It's good, but it can also cause problems. Can this phrase be used in formal situations?
Definitely. You can use double-edged sword in both casual and formal situations.
Oh, that's useful. So I could say, being famous is a double-edged sword. You get attention, but you also lose privacy.
Perfect example, Lisa. Now, for our listeners, try to think of something in your life that feels like a double-edged sword. Maybe technology or even chocolate. It's delicious, but eating too much can be bad for your health.
Okay, well, I think now we've explained the word double-edged sword pretty well. Let's move on to the next word.
The next word is keep someone or something from something.
Keep someone or something from something. That's a long one, Eric, but I think it's an important one.
It is. This phrase is super common in everyday English. This is a phrasal verb. It means to stop someone or something from doing something or to prevent something from happening.
Ah, so it's about stopping or blocking something from happening.
Exactly. For example, let's say it's raining. You might say, "My umbrella keeps me from getting wet."
The umbrella prevents you from getting wet.
Right. Or here's another example. Parents try to keep their children from eating too much candy.
I think many parents do that. They want to stop their kids from eating too much sugar.
Exactly. So, the structure is keep plus someone or something plus from plus action or thing.
Nice and clear. And can we use this in formal situations too?
Yes. For example, in a meeting, someone might say, "Our goal is to keep the company from losing money."
Got it. So it works in everyday conversations and professional settings.
Right. And it's easy to use in daily life. And here's a little grammar tip. After from, we usually use a verb with ing. For example, exercise can keep you from feeling tired.
Oh, it's an important point. Good to know. Okay, well, I think now our listeners understand the idiom better. Shall we move on to the next word?
Let's do that. The next word is fall into the wrong hands.
Fall into the wrong hands. Ooh, that sounds mysterious, Eric. The wrong hands? Whose hands are we talking about?
Good question, Lisa. Don't worry, this phrase isn't about actual hands. This is an idiom, and it means that something important, dangerous, or valuable is taken or controlled by the wrong person, someone who may use it in a bad or harmful way.
Ah, so it's about something going to someone who shouldn't have it.
Yes. And you can also say things like, "We must stop this from falling into the wrong hands." It's common in action stories and security talks.
Oh, like in spy movies. We can't let the documents fall into the wrong hands.
Perfect example. It's often used for things like money, secrets, weapons, or technology.
Got it. So it's a warning or a way to talk about keeping things safe.
Yes, and you can use it in everyday life too. For example, I locked my phone to make sure my personal data doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Oh, that's practical. So it's not just for big dramatic situations. Is this phrase formal or informal?
It's flexible. You can hear it in both formal and informal situations. For example, in business, someone might say, "We need to protect customer information to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands."
I like that. And it feels easy to understand, even if you haven't heard it before.
Yes, it's a simple and clear phrase.
Okay, well, I think we've reached the last word of today. What is the last word, Eric?
The last word is give someone a voice.
Give someone a voice.
This is an idiom. It means to let someone express their thoughts, opinions, or feelings, especially someone who may not usually be heard.
Yes. For example, if a teacher listens to shy students and encourages them to speak, they are giving those students a voice.
That's a great example. Here's another one. The new program gives young people a voice in the community. This means the program allows young people to share their ideas and have a say in decisions.
Ah, so it's about forming a space for them to share their ideas or experiences.
Exactly. Here's another one. The charity gave a voice to the homeless by sharing their stories. This means the charity helped homeless people speak up and be noticed.
I like that. It shows respect and makes people feel included.
A quick grammar tip. After give someone a voice, you can add in to show where they can express their opinions. For example, give students a voice in school decisions.
And it can be used for many situations. Okay, well, that's it for today's episode of Simply Explained English. We hope you found the words helpful and the explanations easy to understand.
Thanks for listening.
Bye for now. I am Lisa.
And I'm Eric. Do you want to improve your English easily? If so, you're in the right place.
Okay, today we'll listen to a podcast about pet peeves.
Let's listen to it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Easy English Chat. I'm Emma.
And I'm Mark. Today, we're talking about something fun and a little frustrating. Pet peeves.
Pet peeves are those little things that other people do that just drive us crazy. Like, maybe someone talks too loudly on their phone, or they chew gum with their mouth open.
Ugh, I can feel myself getting annoyed already. But it's such a fun topic because we all have pet peeves, right?
Absolutely. So, as you listen, think about your own pet peeves. What little things annoy you the most?
Let's dive in. So, Emma, let's talk about some of the most common pet peeves. What's one that really annoys you?
Oh, easy. Noisy chewing. You know, when someone eats chips or slurps soup loudly. It's like, can you please eat quietly?
Yes, it's called misophonia. Some people are super sensitive to those sounds.
Exactly. And it's not just chewing. Loud gum popping is another one. Why does that noise feel so irritating?
I know what you mean. Okay, here's another pet peeve. Slow walkers in crowded places.
Oh, that's a good one. You're trying to get somewhere and they're just strolling, taking up the whole sidewalk.
And they're usually looking at their phones too. You want to say, can you walk and text somewhere else, please?
It's like they've forgotten there are other people in the world.
Speaking of forgetting others, how about when people don't say thank you?
Oh, yes, like when you hold the door open for someone and they just walk through without even looking at you.
Or when you let someone merge in traffic and they don't wave or anything. It's such a small gesture, but it makes a big difference.
Exactly. Being polite is so easy, but when people aren't, it really stands out.
Another classic pet peeve is loud phone conversations in public places.
Oh, I hate that, especially on buses or in waiting rooms. Why does someone need to share their entire life story with the whole world?
It's like, we don't need to know about your drama.
And one more, how about people who interrupt you while you're talking?
Yes. That's so frustrating. It makes you feel like they're not even listening to what you're saying.
Exactly. Okay, listeners, how many of these pet peeves do you agree with? Or do you have your own? Share your pet peeves with us. We'd love to hear them. Let's figure out what makes us all tick.
Okay, Emma, let's get into the big question. Why do small things like noisy chewing or slow walkers annoy us so much?
Good question. I think it's because pet peeves often break our expectations.
Expectations? What do you mean?
Well, we all have this idea of how people should act in certain situations. For example, we expect people to chew quietly or say thank you when we do something nice. When they don't, it feels wrong, and that bothers us.
Ah, so it's not just about the action. It's about what we expect.
Exactly. Plus, some people are more sensitive to certain behaviors. Like with noisy chewing, someone who hates that sound might feel annoyed faster than someone who doesn't notice it.
That's so true. It's like how some people can't stand when others click their pens during a meeting, but other people don't even hear it.
Right? And there's also a bit of psychology behind it. Pet peeves can feel personal even though they're not.
What do you mean?
Like, if someone interrupts you while you're talking, it can feel like they don't respect you, even if they didn't mean it that way.
Oh, that makes sense. It's not just the action. It's how we interpret it. Pet peeves often bring out our expectations of how people should behave.
Exactly. And let's be honest, sometimes we're just in a bad mood and little things annoy us more than usual.
So true. I guess the key is remembering that everyone has different triggers. What annoys me might not annoy you.
Exactly. Coming up, we'll share some tips on how to deal with pet peeves without losing your cool. Stick around.
All right, Emma, we've all been there. Something small annoys us, and we feel like we're about to lose it. So, how can we deal with pet peeves in a healthy way?
Good question. First, take a deep breath. Sometimes just pausing for a moment can stop you from reacting in anger.
That's true. And you can remind yourself, this isn't personal. Most people don't even realize they're doing something annoying.
Exactly. Another tip is to politely address the issue if you can. For example, if someone is chewing loudly, you could say, "Hey, could you chew a little quieter, please?"
Right. Most people will understand if you're kind about it. And if it's something you can't change, like slow walkers, try to distract yourself. Listen to music or think about something positive.
Great advice. A little patience goes a long way.
Totally. Stay calm, folks.
Well, that's it for today's episode on pet peeves. We've all got them, and they're totally normal.
Yep. The key is learning how to handle them without letting them ruin your day.
Thanks for listening. What are your biggest pet peeves? Share them with us. We'd love to know.
See you next time on Easy English Chat. Bye for now.
What do you think about the podcast, Lisa?
It was hilarious and so relatable. I can't believe how many of their examples matched my own pet peeves.
Same here. The one about slow walkers? That one really gets me.
Oh, totally. I also loved how they pointed out the psychology behind pet peeves. It made me think about why certain things bother me so much.
And their advice about staying calm and addressing issues politely was spot on.
Agreed. I might try that the next time someone talks loudly on their phone near me. Okay, let's start our podcast. What are the words today, Eric?
Okay, the first word today is pet peeve. Then we will continue with to stroll and to interpret. Then stand out. And the final one is bring out.
Let's start with the first word.
The first word is pet peeve.
Pet peeve.
Pet peeve is a noun. A pet peeve is something small that bothers you a lot. It's usually not a big problem, but it still annoys you.
Ah, so it's like a personal annoyance, right?
Exactly. For example, my pet peeve is when people chew their food loudly. It really irritates me.
Oh yes, that can be annoying. My pet peeve is when people leave their dirty dishes in the sink for too long. I feel like saying, just wash them already.
That's a good example. A pet peeve can be about manners, habits, or even sounds. What's important is that it's personal. Something that bothers you, but it might not bother someone else as much.
Let's give some examples so everyone can practice.
Sure. Here's one. One of my pet peeves is when people text while walking and don't look where they're going.
Oh yes, that's a good one. Here's mine. My biggest pet peeve is when people interrupt me while I'm talking.
Great example. Listeners, you can also ask someone about their pet peeves. For example, what's your biggest pet peeve? It's a fun way to start a conversation.
All right, that's all for the word pet peeve. Let's move on to the next word.
The next word is stroll.
Stroll.
Stroll is a verb. It means to walk in a slow, relaxed way. You're not in a hurry and you're enjoying the walk. For example, you might stroll in a park on a sunny day.
Oh, I love to stroll along the beach in the evening. The sound of the waves makes it so peaceful.
That's a great example. Here's an easy sentence. We strolled through the garden after dinner. This means they walked slowly in the garden to relax.
Another example is, he likes to stroll around the city on weekends. This means he enjoys walking slowly to explore the city and have a calm time.
Now, here's a quick tip. Stroll is usually used when talking about walking in a relaxed way, not for exercise or getting somewhere quickly. You can also use it as a noun, like a stroll. For example, we took a stroll in the park.
Yes, and you can use it with places. For example, stroll along the river or stroll through the market. It's often about enjoying the scenery or atmosphere.
So remember, to stroll means to walk in a calm, easy way. And it's perfect for talking about relaxing moments.
Shall we move on to the next word, Eric?
Let's do that. The next word is interpret.
Interpret.
The verb to interpret has two main meanings. First, it can mean to explain or understand the meaning of something. For example, if you read a poem, you might interpret its meaning in your own way.
Oh, like saying, for example, I interpreted her comment as a joke.
Exactly. The second meaning of to interpret is to translate spoken language from one language to another. For example, a person at a meeting might interpret between English and Spanish so that everyone can understand.
Eric, can you give an example?
Sure. For the first meaning, it's hard to interpret her silence. Does it mean she's angry, or is she just tired? For the second meaning, the guide interpreted the speaker's words into French for the audience. And the noun form is interpretation. For example, her interpretation of the painting was very interesting.
Well, you might use it when talking about understanding art, books, or even people's actions. For example, I interpreted his smile as a sign that he was happy.
Yes, Lisa.
Are there any related words or phrases that listeners should know?
Definitely. One is to translate, which is similar, but usually refers to written language instead of spoken language. For example, she translated the book from Japanese to English.
Right. And don't forget about interpretation, which we mentioned earlier, and interpreter, the person who interprets between languages. Okay, well, I think we've explained interpret pretty well. Let's move on to the next word.
The next phrase is stand out.
Stand out.
Stand out is a phrasal verb. It means to be very noticeable or easy to see because you're different or special in some way. For example, if someone wears a bright red jacket in a group of people wearing black, they stand out.
I see. So, it's like when something catches your attention because it's different or special, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're at a talent show, and one performer is so amazing that everyone remembers them. That person stands out.
Got it. But can we use it for things too, or just people?
Great question, Lisa. You can use stand out for both people and things. For example, this book really stands out because of its colorful cover.
Oh, that makes sense. Let's give some practical examples. Eric, how about this one? Her painting really stands out in the gallery.
Perfect. That means her painting is special or different from the others. Here's another. Bright colors make this jacket stand out.
Oh, I love that. Can I try one?
Of course.
His loud voice made him stand out during the presentation.
Excellent example, Lisa.
Now, is stand out formal or informal?
I think it's neutral. You can use it in both formal and informal situations. You might say it in a meeting. This idea stands out as the best solution. Or casually, your new shoes really stand out.
So, it's versatile and works in lots of contexts. Okay, well, we've reached the last word of today. What is the last word, Eric?
The last word is bring out.
Bring out.
Bring out has a few meanings, but the most common one is to make something more noticeable or to highlight it.
So it's like when something makes a quality or feature more obvious, right?
Exactly. For example, Wearing blue really brings out the color of your eyes.
Oh, I love that example. It means the blue makes your eye color stand out more.
That's right. You can also use bring out when you're showing or encouraging someone's personality or skills. For example, the teacher's kindness brought out the best in her students.
I see. So it's about making things visible, whether it's a quality, feature, or skill.
Let's give our listeners more examples. Here's one. A good director can bring out the best performance from an actor.
Great example. How about, this music really brings out my energy when I'm working out?
Perfect, Lisa. You're showing how bring out can apply to different situations, like emotions, qualities, or even physical features.
Exactly. Adding lemon juice brings out the freshness in the salad.
Excellent.
Eric, is bring out formal or informal?
Bring out is pretty neutral, so you can use it in both formal and informal situations.
Oh, that's good to know. For example, in a meeting, you might say, this design brings out the key features of our product.
And in casual conversation, you might say, your new haircut really brings out your smile.
So, it's very flexible and works everywhere. Okay, well, that's all for today. Thanks for learning with us.
And remember, you bring out the best in us because you're such great learners.
See you next time on Learn English with Eric and Lisa.